Hey guys, I know I'm late, but in honor of National Superhero Day, this video will be about superheroes. But this will be about one of Pixar's movies and Illumination's movies, which is yet again our crossover video. Despicable Me, without doubt, is the Illumination's most iconic movie franchise, and The Incredibles is one of Pixar's most iconic movies, along next to Toy Story and many others. One thing they have is that they both involve superheroes, but Despicable Me only has supervillains, never superheroes, despite the fact that they were going to involve superheroes at one point, but then they decided to just be like, let's just forget about the superheroes and just go with supervillains, that kind of thing. And have the main character be a supervillain turned hero. That kind of thing. So, it makes you wonder, what if the two were in the same universe? Now, with Gru wanting to be a supervillain, I could imagine him looking up to the villains of the golden days. I mean, the glory days. The golden age of superheroes. I do think he would know who Mr. Incredible is. Now, what about the minions? I could see the minions. The events of their movies would not change whatsoever, except I think maybe instead of these movies take place in the 60s, The Incredibles, I think the beginning of The Incredibles could actually take place in the late 80s to early 90s, if I were to make a guess. Thus putting the Minions movies at 60s to 70s. Sorry if I'm adjusting the timeline, I'm just doing my best. I do think Syndrome would be friends with Gru. Buddy, I think they would be best friends because, well, actually they would be in more of a conflict because I initially thought of this best friend idea, but I'm like, Syndrome would be best friends with Vector. But it's that Syndrome wants to be a hero, but Mr. Incredible wants to be a villain, that kind of thing. And I think Mr. Incredible could have fought a teenage Gru at some point. And then 15 years later, the events of the Incredibles and Despicable Me happen. I think the events of Despicable Me would be in between the Incredibles. Now, Despicable Me 1 would not change whatsoever. Well, how do I put this? They wouldn't really change, except after the Super Registration Act, which would still happen, Gru is left without a villain and feels incomplete. He's left without a hero, kind of like Megamind, and he tries to find a new enemy. This would be Vector, which would cause the coin to start flipping. Syndrome Mirage would try to get out Gru, but Gru would be like, no thanks. Because I could imagine at this point Despicable Me 2 would happen. I imagine the events of Despicable Me 2 would begin to happen. Mr. Incredible is, they go with Mr. Incredible, the rest of the movie goes up the same. Up until the Omni Droid fight. Where I would imagine the Omni Droid fight happening between Despicable Me 2 and 3. And of course, Gru, the minions, the girls, and Lucy would have to team up to take down the Omni Droid. The 3 months in between after the final battle of the Incredibles and the ending of the Incredibles, I could imagine Despicable Me 3 happening by then. Which leads to the events of Incredibles 2, where we see Gru, Lucy, them being involved with the Unbanned the Supers thing. I could imagine Gru and Lucy starting to become superheroes, that kind of thing. After Incredibles 2, Despicable Me 4 would happen. And I could imagine Maxime Lamal idolizing past supervillains, like, all the villains from the glory days. The same thing could be said for Brat, Balthazar Brat, maybe. And maybe Antonio Almacho's son, if he were to become a villain in the future. The possibilities here are endless. So that's what if Despicable Me and The Incredibles were in the same universe. Happy late National Superhero Day to you guys. And let me know who your favorite superheroes are in the comments down below. Anyways, bye.